What's good, everybody? Today I'm reacting to four disturbing real cases of deja vu by Mr. Nightmare. I thought, I'm gonna react to something different today, and I hope it doesn't scare the shit out of me. So let's go.
Weird, fleeting feeling that you've lived through a moment before. We've all experienced it. Most people brush it off as a brain glitch or a coincidence, but sometimes it feels wrong, like reality is repeating itself in ways it shouldn't. These
Oh gosh. Oh gosh. Yeah, this is bad. I mean, I think everybody had that before, like deja vu's. And it's like you ask yourself like, am I tripping, or like is it really like something like that I've dreamed before maybe? I don't like
four
that.
allegedly true stories of deja vu that didn't fade away, but rather they spiraled into something terrifying.
Oh god. Fuck me.
I don't usually talk about this with people because of how insane it sounds, but something happened to me back in 2017 that made me question not just my sanity, but the structure of reality itself. I was living in a pretty dingy apartment complex in central New Jersey, a three-story brick building that probably hadn't been renovated since the late 80s. The kind of place where the hallway lights buzzed faintly and every door had chipped paint and mismatched locks. I lived there
I've been in a hotel like this before, bro.
with my roommate Nick, who worked security night shifts for a warehouse just outside of town.
And
Most
those
nights I had the
doors,
place to
like you can
myself.
just.
It was a Thursday night in early February when I came home a little later than usual. I remember walking up the stairs and getting hit with a smell I hadn't smelled in years. Burned rubber mixed with some kind of citrus cleaner. That smell triggered something in me. This strange and sudden memory that felt like it belonged to someone else. As I walked down the hallway, the feeling of deja vu hit me like a sledgehammer. Not just a flash of familiarity, but an overwhelming sensation that I had lived this exact moment before, in
Yep.
precise, granular detail. I stopped about 5 feet from my door and froze.
And it feels
I
so
knew what was going
real.
to happen next. The light above me would flicker twice. A woman from
No.
downstairs would yell something muffled and then laugh.
No.
Then, at the far end
Oh,
of the
God.
hallway, something heavy would fall.
No.
A dull, metallic thud. And it happened in that exact order,
No, it
exactly as I knew it would. I remember standing there.
Do you think this is true? I don't know. I mean, I'm not saying that somebody's lying and shit, but I mean, if it happened, that's crazy. That's crazy. Fuck.
Not even scared yet, just confused. I thought maybe I had dreamed it, but then it happened again the next night. This time I was watching TV, eating leftover Chinese food, and suddenly I knew the scene I was going to play before it happened. The lines of dialogue, the background noise, even the timing of a phone buzz from my nightstand. Over the next 5 days, these moments became more frequent. I began writing them down,
Oh.
testing myself, and every time I was correct.
I
I
wouldn't
knew
know
things I
what
couldn't
to
have
do,
known,
bro.
like the exact time Nick would text me, or the moment a neighbor's dog would start barking. But they weren't memories. They were reminders of something I hadn't lived yet. That's when the dream started. I dreamed I was lying in bed and the door opened. Nick walked in pale and dripping sweat and said, "There's someone in the building."
No.
His voice sounded wrong, like too flat, like it was being played from a recording.
Bro, if you know me, I am like the most paranoid person on this planet. Hearing this,
Two, and he just stared at me. That dream played every night, but the final night, it wasn't a dream. At 3:12 a.m., my door opened, and Nick was standing there, saying the exact same words. I followed him into the hallway with a bat in hand. He pointed toward the stairwell. There was no one, but something felt off. The shadows didn't move the way they should. We called the police. Nothing. I told Nick about the dreams, and he just stared at me and said, "I've been having them too." Neither of us said anything else. The deja vu ended that night, but ever since then, I sometimes catch the flicker of something. A memory, a sense, a noise, and I wonder if I'm about to remember something before it happens again. Because if that door opens again and I hear those words, I don't know if I'll be able to follow this time. I started to question if what we think of as a memory is really just our brain accessing timelines stacked atop one another, like layers of old wallpaper, each layer faintly bleeding into the next. Sometimes I think the hallway itself is some kind of weak point, a seam between two versions of reality. I moved out 6 months after that night, and I've driven past that building
Oh,
more than once.
I would have
And each
moved out
time,
the
I
next day.
swear I
No,
feel a tug.
that night I
Like
would
my
have
body
moved
wants to
out.
stop and go in. Part of me still believes there's something
Crazy.
waiting at the end of that hallway. Not a person or a ghost. Just a decision I haven't made in this version of my life. And every time I think about it, I feel like I'm closer to
I'm
making
cold,
it.
bro. Ryan M.
My name is Ryan.
Bro, this story was so weird. Like, it's hard for me to believe those things, you know? But deja vus are real. Like, everybody has them. I've had them before. And it's nothing scary. It's just, like, weird. You don't know why you remember that. Or, for me, it's just like your brain is, like, playing tricks on you. Like, you think you remember it, but you don't. I think that's it. That's all it
This
is.
happened 3 years ago when I was 17 and my brother Chris was 19. We live in a small town surrounded by woods. Not much happens here, so kids like us get bored pretty easily. There's a trail near our house that leads into the forest. It goes on for miles. People say there are old buildings and weird stuff hidden deep in the trees, and we always talked about going to explore it, but never did, until one weekend in October. He had nothing to do, and Chris said we should finally check out the house he heard about from other kids at school.
No.
It was a cool, cloudy day. The leaves were all changing colors, so it was a nice scenic walk actually. We packed water and flashlights, told our mom we were going hiking, and left around 3 in the afternoon. The sun sets early in October, so we figured we had maybe 2 hours to go and get back. The walk started out normal. It's not like I hadn't hiked in these woods before, but after maybe 10 minutes, I started to feel weird. It felt like I had walked this specific trail before, like I remembered this specific walk and conversation with my brother. Even when we found a broken fence post on the trail, I felt like I remembered that exact moment. But I had never been down this trail before, I was sure of it. Chris was ahead of me, talking about something random, but I didn't really hear him at this point. I kept looking around, and everything felt too familiar. I knew there would be a thick tree with a big hole in it near the side of the trail, and 5 minutes later...
Bro, that's what I don't understand about those people. Like, if that happened to me, I would have gone home already, bro. I would have been home.
Past it. I didn't say anything out loud. Like, I've experienced deja vu before. This time, it just felt weirdly more intense. The deeper we went, the more memories came back. I started to remember a house, a 2-story house.
Bro,
with
this is
green
making
paint
me
peeling
so
off and a
nervous.
broken front
And the
step.
pictures don't
I saw
help,
it
bro.
clearly in my head.
Pictures don't
I
help.
remembered a broken window on the top floor and dead vines going up the side, but I had never seen this house before in real life. I didn't say anything to my brother yet, though. We finally reached the house between 3:30 and 4 p.m., and when I saw it, I felt like my stomach dropped. It was the same exact house I was picturing in my head, down to just about every last detail.
Oh, bro.
I just stared at it while Chris kept walking toward the porch. I wanted to turn around and leave. In that moment, I actually started questioning if I had seen this house before, even though I was almost positive I hadn't. I asked Chris if it felt familiar to him, and he acted confused and said no. Then he asked what I meant. I told him straight up I felt a weird sense of deja vu of this exact moment. I didn't want to chicken out though, so we kept going. The
Yeah,
front door
bro,
was
peer
cracked open,
pressure.
indicating we weren't the first to have the genius idea of exploring this place. Chris pushed it open slowly, and it made a long squeaking sound as it opened. Inside, it smelled like what you'd expect a long abandoned house to smell like, and the silence in there was almost deafening, like it felt heavy on
There
my
is
ears.
people that do that.
We stepped
like,
inside, and there was broken furniture, old wallpaper
They even
peeling
go
off,
in there,
and a
like, at
staircase
night
going up
and
on
shit.
the left side of the room. We looked around the first floor for a while. There was a kitchen with no lights, a living room with a fireplace, and a hallway with one closed door at the end. The whole time, it felt like someone was watching us. At least to me it did. Chris made a comment that the place is kind of creepy, and I couldn't agree more. Then I said something without thinking. I said, I remember being here before. Chris stopped walking and just turned to me and said, what do you mean? I didn't even mean to say it. The words just came out on their own. I repeated myself. I said, I remember this place, the kitchen, that hallway, even the fireplace. And I remember a woman upstairs. Chris's response was one you'd expect, an automatic assumption that I was trying to add to the creepy atmosphere and freak him out. I told him straight up, I'm not trying to scare you. I just have a weird memory of being here and someone being upstairs.
Shut up.
I could tell it did creep him out a bit, but I mean, in a setting like this, it isn't hard to freak people out.
Yeah.
We stood there for a second, then we heard a noise, a soft creak, like a floorboard.
Bro, I don't know if I can do this, bro. I don't know if I can do this. I am like so paranoid when it comes to those things. Like, there is things that like people like get super scared of, and I'm like, okay, like that's not that bad. But this type of stuff, this freaks me out.
Stepped on. It came from upstairs. Chris looked at me, and I looked at him. We didn't say anything for a few seconds. He dared me to go upstairs and check it out. I said absolutely not. He
Yeah.
advised we get out of there. He somehow convinced me to play rock, paper, scissors to see who would go up there and check out the upstairs. I lost.
Bruh,
I
friends
still
like this.
refused to go up there.
Everybody
Chris
has
still would
friends
rather
like
go up there than to leave the house right then. As he walked up the stairs, each step creaked. I followed behind, but I stayed at the top of the stairs while he walked toward the room where the noise had seemingly come from. It was the last room on the right. The door was slightly open. He reached out and pushed it open more. I couldn't see what was inside from where I was standing, but Chris saw something in there. He froze, and then out of nowhere, he screamed and almost shoved me down the stairs. He yelled, "Run," and we flew down the stairs and out the front door. We didn't stop running, not even when we reached the trail again. We kept going until we were completely out of breath. When we finally stopped, we were bent over, trying to breathe.
What
My
did
heart
you
was
see?
beating so bad I could barely hear. What did you see? I asked.
If you saw a woman,
Chris looked at me and said, there was a woman in there staring out the window like a statue. When I asked him what
stop,
she looked
bro.
like,
No.
he said all he really noticed was her hair, which
No.
was shoulder length and grayish blonde.
Shut up, bro.
He kept asking me how the hell I knew there would be a woman up there.
Shut the
They accused him of
fuck
lying
up,
to
bro.
prank me,
No.
and he probably thought I was trying to scare him, so he flipped the script on me.
Bro, why
He
does
never
he keep
caved.
on putting
He
those
never told me he
pictures
was
in
kidding.
there, bro? Stop
He
it.
insisted for days, weeks, months, even years later today, that he wasn't kidding, and he saw that woman in there.
Maybe
Part of
she
me knows
lived
there's
there.
a possibility he did flip what he thought was a prank back on me.
You just broke
But
into
deep
her
down,
house?
I believe him.
Stupid.
We both heard that sound from upstairs. It came from someone or something alive. My deja vu or premonitions or whatever you want to call it were also way too specific to be coincidental.
Yeah, that's crazy though.
I'm glad I wasn't the only one to look into that room. This experience changed my definition of the term deja vu.
Fuck, bro. This is intense, bro. Mr. Madison? What?
In 2020, during one of those strange in-between phases of lockdown and reopened stores, I had a stretch of time that felt less like reality and more like I was walking through a scripted loop I couldn't escape.
I love this.
I was
Like,
driving home late from my
snow and
girlfriend's
shit.
house, maybe 1:30 in the morning. It had just snowed, not heavy, but enough to turn the roads slick. I live in a small town outside Scranton, Pennsylvania, and there's this one intersection near my place that's infamous for accidents. It has 4 stop signs but no lights, and on snowy nights you have to basically guess if the other driver will obey them. As I approached the intersection, I felt something heavy settle in my chest. It wasn't fear at first, just a strange sense of being out of place, like I had stepped into a moment I had already lived. I slowed down, even though I had the right of way. Then, without warning, a black pickup truck blew through the stop sign on my left. If I hadn't hit the brakes early, it would have plowed straight into my side.
But that is believable. Like, there is moments where you get like, you say like this gut feeling. And, you should listen to that. Like, a lot of times, your like instincts are true. Like that's not like some type of like magic story or whatever. Like gut feeling is real, bro. You should listen to that shit.
Over, shaking, watching the taillights vanish into the snow. That would have killed me.
Fuck
I
yeah.
knew it. But what scared me more was that I knew it was coming. Not in the way you anticipate danger. I mean, I remembered it. I remembered the details, like the crunching metal and the glass and the airbag crushing my face.
Okay, that's
None
different.
of it happened, but I remembered it like a fact. I chalked it up to stress. The pandemic, the isolation, whatever. But then, a few nights later, I had another episode. I was at a
No, I
red
thought it
light,
was
and I
over.
remembered the song that would come on the radio before it did. I remembered the woman walking her dog across the street, even though I couldn't see her yet. I started to feel like I wasn't
That is
living in
so
the present
weird,
anymore,
bro.
just reenacting it. Then the dreams began. Same road, same crash. Each night more vivid. In one dream, I got out of the car and saw my own body slumped in the driver's seat with my eyes glassy and a long gash across my temple.
Bro,
I could
I look. I'm sure there's a lot of people that talk shit, and make up stories like that. But if this actually happens to you, I feel like you should see a mental doctor, bro. And that's not like, I'm not saying that you're like, I'm not saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying like that is not fucking normal, bro. Like seeing yourself dead on the ground, bro.
myself trying to breathe. On the fifth night,
Bro,
I woke up in
freak
a
out.
sweat and told myself I wouldn't take that route again. I
Oh,
drove 10 minutes out of the way and took the highway instead. Later that day, I got a message from a friend. There had been a fatal crash at that same intersection. Same time I usually drove through it. Same make and color of my car.
what?
A different person, but the same ending. Ever since then, I've wondered, was I remembering my own death in another timeline?
Yeah, that would
Was
have
some
been
part
him,
of me
bro.
rerouted at the last second?
Fuck.
Was I just another version that got lucky, while another me didn't? I haven't had deja vu like that since.
Imagine
But
how many
sometimes when I
times you
drive
got
at night and
lucky
the road looks
before.
too familiar,
Like, you don't
I
even
get
know
chills.
about those
Because maybe
times.
some part of me remembers something.
But like, remember how, now, like think about how many times you maybe like would have died if you like made a little bit of a different decision. Like, you know, I think about that sometimes. It's kind of weird.
Not supposed to. I later looked into near-death experiences and found people reporting the same kind of thing. Memories of things that hadn't happened yet, only they always involved a close brush with death. Maybe deja vu is just a side effect of slipping through the cracks. Maybe time isn't a line at all, but a constantly reloading loop. And occasionally something inside us remembers what happened before the reset. If that's true, then every time we avoid disaster, it might not be because of luck. It might be because we've already lived through it, and some part of us is trying desperately to keep it from happening again.
Well, I'm sure everybody that is, a little bit older, and with that I mean like 10 years old, is fucking lucky, bro. Like, there is no other thing. Like, you're just lucky to be alive.
Before I worked in IT, I spent 2 years doing overnight shifts at a long-term care home in upstate New York. It was an old facility, a little rundown but decent enough.
Oh, that's fucking creepy.
We had a few
bro,
residents
bro.
with Alzheimer's or advanced dementia, but most
Oh.
were stable, just elderly and needing care. There was one woman named Miss Adelaide. She was 87, mostly lucid, very sweet, and kept to herself. She had a faded photo of a young boy on her nightstand that she called her grandson, but no one ever visited her. Over the first few months, I developed a routine. Midnight rounds, patient checks every hour. Most nights were uneventful, but every so often, I'd find Miss Adelaide awake, staring at the ceiling, humming some slow, eerie tune. One night around 2:15 a.m., I found her sitting up, eyes wide open. When I asked if she needed anything, she said without blinking, "You already asked me that. You ask every night, but tonight is different." I felt this strange feeling in my gut, like she was reading a script for my future. I laughed nervously and offered her water. She declined and added, "You should remember this part." I told my supervisor, who brushed it off as confusion or dream
Of
state
course
talk.
he did.
But the next
You
night,
sound
I got the
crazy.
same response from her, word for word. On the third night, she was gone, passed in her sleep around 1:50 a.m. When I went to her room for rounds, the bed was freshly made, and her belongings were already boxed. I couldn't stop thinking about what she said. I did some digging through old records and archived notes. Turns out, another night staff member had reported similar things in her file from years ago, always at night around 2 a.m. She repeated phrases and predicted exact actions, and even once said the name of a new nurse before they introduced themselves. One entry from 2013 had her saying, "I remember this version. You take your break at 3:07."
Why is it always older women though? Like, that's the scariest thing, bro. Like, that's what makes a few stories like kind of, I don't want to say unbelievable, but like it's always older women. And yes, they scare me, bro. They fucking scare me.
"You always do." And according to the note, the nurse had just looked at their watch. It was 3:07. I don't know what was happening with Miss Adelaide. I don't really believe in the paranormal, but it seemed to me that she was in some kind of loop or glitch. I can't really explain it, but it seems to me that maybe she was stuck, watching her life play out again and again, waiting for it to end differently. Now I work behind a desk, but I still get the occasional wave of deja vu. And when I do, I stop and listen, because maybe it's not just a trick of the brain. Maybe it's a message.
Yeah.
Maybe it's Miss Adelaide or someone like her reaching out across timelines,
Okay.
trying to remind us we've been here before, and it didn't end well. I've since met people who worked at that same care home, both years apart, and without me saying anything, they mentioned that they used to have weird dreams at night while working there. One even said a patient warned her she'd be fired soon, and then she was let go a week later due to
Shit.
downsizing. She didn't remember the patient's name. I just nodded and said how interesting that was. I think about Miss Adelaide often. Sometimes when
Yeah,
I'm
of
falling
course you
asleep,
do.
I hear that same eerie humming
Fuck.
from my dreams. I can't help but still think about Miss Adelaide all the time.
Bro. Bro, I don't know, man. I don't know if I'm just a chicken or if. Bro. I'm a fucking chicken, bro. I can't do this shit. I can't do this shit, bro. Why am I so fucking scared, bro? That's weird, man. And it's cold and shit, bro. I don't like that shit. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. Um, Let me know if you want to see more. I mean, it was good. It was just like, you know, yeah. Um, if you want to, please subscribe and like and check out my other videos. And yeah, see you. Peace.